Every single night, you die a little. Not metaphorically, not poetically. Your conscious self, the version of you that chose what to eat today, that remembers your mother's voice, that fears the future, that version dissolves. It goes dark, and in its place, something else wakes up. Something older, something that doesn't care about logic, or time, or the rules of reality you've spent your entire life learning to follow. And that thing starts talking to you. We call it dreaming, but that word is too soft, too safe. Because what's actually happening inside your skull every night is one of the most bizarre, most philosophically disturbing, most scientifically unexplained events in all of human biology. And the more you understand it, the less certain you become about what's real, what's you, and what's been hiding underneath your waking life this entire time. Let's go there. Your brain never fully sleeps. That's the first thing you need to understand. While your body goes limp, while your muscles surrender, and your breathing slows into something almost indistinguishable from death, your brain enters a state of electrical chaos that rivals, and sometimes exceeds, its activity during full waking consciousness. Think about that for a moment. You are more neurologically alive in certain stages of sleep than you are right now, reading these words. The lights aren't off, they're burning in a different room entirely. About 90 minutes after you fall asleep, you enter what neuroscientists call REM sleep, rapid eye movement. Your eyes begin darting behind closed lids, like they're watching something move. Your body becomes temporarily paralyzed, held down by a neurological mechanism that exists for one specific reason: to stop you from physically acting out your dreams. Your brain essentially says, whatever you're about to experience, you cannot bring it into the physical world. And then it begins. Scenes unfold. People appear who shouldn't exist. You find yourself in cities you've never visited, running from things with no faces, speaking to versions of people you loved who are long gone. You feel fear. You feel joy. You feel a grief so specific, so devastating, that you wake up with your chest actually aching, reaching for something that was never there. And here's what's strange. Your brain, during this experience, cannot tell the difference between the dream and reality. The same neural networks that process real sensory input, the same circuits that fire when you genuinely see a face, hear a voice, feel a hand on your shoulder, those are the exact circuits firing inside your dream. To your neurology, it is real. Completely, undeniably real. Which raises a question that should quietly unsettle you. If your brain cannot distinguish between the dream and reality, then how confident are you that the distinction actually exists? Humans have been asking this question for a very long time. In ancient Mesopotamia, dreams were not considered products of the mind. They were considered messages, transmissions from gods, from the dead, from dimensions of existence that the waking world simply couldn't access. The Assyrians had professional dream interpreters embedded in royal courts. Pharaohs in Egypt made military decisions based on what came to them in the night. In ancient Greece, temples called Asclepions were built specifically for the ritual of incubation, where the sick would sleep inside sacred chambers, hoping a god would visit their dreams and reveal the cure. These weren't primitive misunderstandings. These were entire civilizations telling you something, that what happens in sleep feels too significant, too structured, too eerily accurate to be random noise. And then something even stranger happened. Modern neuroscience showed up. And instead of disproving the ancients, it found something that almost justified them. In 1953, researchers at the University of Chicago accidentally discovered REM sleep when studying infant brain activity. What they found launched an entirely new field of science. And within decades, the evidence accumulated into something no one fully expected. Dreams are not meaningless. They are, in fact, one of the most sophisticated cognitive processes your brain performs. But here's what's strange. Scientists still cannot agree on why. There are theories, dozens of them, each compelling, each incomplete. One of the most powerful is the threat simulation theory, developed by Finnish neuroscientist Antti Revonsuo. His argument is evolutionary, and it will crawl under your skin. He suggests that dreaming, particularly nightmares, exists as a biological training program, a survival simulator. For hundreds of thousands of years, the most dangerous moments in human life were the ones that could kill you without warning. Predators, floods, enemies, betrayal. And so the brain evolved a nightly rehearsal system, a place where it could repeatedly expose you to fear, to danger, to loss, not to torture you, but to sharpen you, to wire your threat response system so deeply that when the real danger came, your body already knew what to do. The terrifying part is this: if that theory is correct, then every nightmare you've ever had, every night you've woken up gasping, every dream where someone you loved was in danger, that was your brain, deliberately doing that to you, because it loves you enough to let you suffer in simulation, so you don't suffer in reality. But that's not what all scientists discovered. Another school of thought, led by researchers like Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley, proposes something even more intimate. Dreams, particularly REM sleep, function as a kind of overnight emotional therapy. During REM, your brain strips memories of their emotional charge. It replays what happened to you, the argument, the loss, the humiliation, the love, but it replays it in a neurochemical bath that's been deliberately drained of the stress hormone norepinephrine. In other words, your sleeping mind is processing your pain, surgically separating the memory from the wound, so that when you wake up, you can look at what happened to you without being destroyed by it again. Your brain still remembers. It just heals it while you're not looking. This is why people who are denied REM sleep through alcohol, certain medications, or sleep disorders often find that emotional memories don't integrate properly. The grief stays sharp, the trauma stays raw, the pain doesn't soften with time the way it's supposed to, because the processing never happened. The therapy session was canceled, every single night. And this is where everything changes. Because if dreaming is how we heal, then it means the life you live while awake is only part of the story. The other part happens in the dark, in silence, in a world only you can see, and without it, the waking version of you slowly starts to fracture. There's a type of dreaming that sits at the very edge of what science can comfortably explain. Lucid dreaming, the experience of becoming aware, mid-dream, that you are dreaming, has been documented and verified in laboratory conditions since the 1970s, when psychologist Keith Hearn and later Stephen LaBerge at Stanford proved it was real by having lucid dreamers communicate with eye movements while inside the dream state. Think about what that means. A human being, suspended in sleep, partially paralyzed, neurologically severed from the waking world, sending deliberate signals back across the boundary between consciousness and unconsciousness. A message from inside the dream, a hand reaching through the wall between what is real and what isn't. And once people could do it, once they could gain awareness inside the dream, some of them reported something no one expected. They said that the dream world, when explored consciously, didn't feel like a hallucination. It felt like a place, consistent, structured, obedient to its own laws. Some reported meeting dream figures who behaved with apparent autonomy, who said things the dreamer didn't intend, who held knowledge the dreamer didn't consciously possess. Which raises the question that philosophers have been circling for centuries. If your mind can generate an entire world, complete with other people who think and speak and feel, where are those people coming from? Are they fragments of you? Are they something the unconscious is hiding from the conscious mind? Or is the mind, in some way we don't yet have language for, tuning into something beyond itself? Descartes asked this. In the 17th century, the question of whether we could distinguish waking reality from a very convincing dream drove him to the edge of philosophical breakdown, and his answer, the one that launched an entire branch of modern philosophy, was that the only thing he could be certain of was that something was doing the experiencing. Not the world, not the body, the experience itself. And you have that experience every night, alone, in a world your own mind constructed without your permission. Here is the last thing, and this one stays with you. There is a phenomenon called the hypnagogic state, the liminal zone between wakefulness and sleep, lasting sometimes only seconds, where the brain begins generating dream imagery while partial consciousness remains. Thomas Edison reportedly used to sit in a chair holding steel balls over a metal bowl, so that the moment he fell asleep, the balls would drop, the sound would wake him, and he could capture whatever had just appeared in his mind. Salvador Dalí did the same thing. They were deliberately fishing at the threshold, trying to steal something from the part of the mind that only opens in the dark. Both of them said that's where their best ideas came from. Not from logic, not from analysis, from the part of the mind that wakes up when you go to sleep. And that is perhaps the most disorienting truth of all. The version of you that you trust most, the rational, controlled, deliberate, daytime you, may not be the deepest part of you. It may just be the surface, the layer that manages the world, while the real work happens somewhere below. Every night, something ancient and vast inside you takes over. It speaks in symbols. It replays your wounds. It rehearses your fears. It processes your grief. It creates entire worlds out of nothing, populates them with people, writes you into stories that feel more emotionally true than most of your waking life. And every morning, you wake up and call it just a dream. But maybe the question isn't, why do we dream? Maybe the question is, which version of you is actually the one who's sleeping?